the Bashar Assad regime of Syria has fallen. Now, I don't know how much you've been watching Mideast stuff, or, if it's super close, if it's always on your mind, if you just hear about it once a year from somebody. But him and his dad have been sinister, diabolical, wicked tyrants for over 50 years, okay? And Bashar Assad, the tall, the guy, he kind of has this look like a hyena. I've always thought, his face and neck, he kind of looks like a hyena. And hyenas are like one of my least favorite animals anywhere. But he tried to escape on a Russian plane, and nobody knows. They're not saying exactly, yeah, we have his body, or yeah, he's under arrest. But he might have escaped to a foreign country. But there's like good points and bad points, because he was the devil everyone knew. And the Turkish-backed rebels from the northwest have, there's these rebels, but basically a version of like Al-Qaeda has taken over Syria, okay? So the leader of the current rebels, they've got all these different letters, for their names, with Syrian Democratic Front, whatever. I don't know, they've got these, little parties. And then there's the Kurdish-backed rebels, and supposedly the Americans are supporting the Kurdish-backed fighters back from the days when, the Kurds were our friends in Iraq and all that kind of stuff. The Kurds in ancient Bible language are the Medes, okay, when it talks about the Medo-Persians. So the Kurds are still a distinct people group, and those are the Medes. The Persians, of course, are the Iranians, and the Russians are the Russians. So, but this apparently puts Russia at a grave disadvantage and puts Iran totally knocked on its heels. And Israel has been watching this ridiculous chaos, mayhem, and bloodshed in Syria. I hope you know that you remember many years ago when we had good people die in Benghazi when Obama was president, and this absolutely sinister person named Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State. That whole thing, what happened in Benghazi, was about covering arms shipments from Syria to create this thing across the Arab world in the Mideast called the Arab Spring, right? And didn't really happen, didn't gel in Egypt, but there was Tunisia, there was Libya, and all that stuff, and then supposedly, and whenever you hear somebody pipe up on the news, oh, we're defending democracy, it's a load of malarkey. Okay. But anyway, back to Syria, is that a lot of arms with the arranged demise of Americans and the consulate or whatever in Benghazi, basically there was all this supply of material and weapons to Syria, and America has had a military presence in Syria all this time. Did you know that? And you go, what? Yeah, we have bases, we have helicopters flying around, we have super highly trained operatives, and CIA and Delta Force and Green Berets and all those guys working their magic, and they're fighting, they're fighting Arab guys, they're fighting Russians, all that stuff's been going on, but it's not really in the news. But just recently, the revolution has been going on in Syria all these years. And now that Bashar Assad has been deposed, he's definitely out of power. It's a disadvantage. It's a major setback to Russia and to Iran. And Hezbollah, it could not have happened if Israel didn't put the hurt on Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. And it blows my mind that we have this little prayer site, and we have an apartment, and we have a car, and we have people that are willing to live there, and we have groups that want to go there right on the border. And all of these little villages and houses that we would point out and say, that's a terrorist home, that's a terrorist, those places, and, all these homes and little cars running around and trucks, it's all been turned to rubble. And honestly, it should be turned, in my heart, in my mind, it should be turned to powder because of the wickedness that was infested there and the threat that it posed, not just to Israel, but to my friends. People that I know and love very personally, and they love me, they love us. They're thankful for you, And so it's all very real. It's not distant, So, but if Israel didn't get super victorious on Hezbollah in southern Lebanon and take this super aggressive stance, and the world, they're just saying ridiculous things. And honestly, the Biden administration again and again has tried to obstruct Israel. With Anthony Blinken, was he Secretary of State? Don't go into Rafah. Don't go into Rafah in the Gaza Strip. It'll be bad. And Israel said, we're going to Rafah. We're not going to give you weapons, America said to them. And Netanyahu responded, says, we'll go in with just our hands if we have to, but we're definitely going into Rafah. And I appreciate that kind of dogged determination on behalf of the defense of the people. Okay, so anyway, but what's going on, Israel has recently, they had a little bit of a presence on Har HaHermon, Mount Hermon, right? And now they took the whole peak. They took, the top of Mount Hermon, and that's great. And many times I've brought groups to this place called Mount Bental, which is like there's these bunkers that we used to be able to climb in. Those of you that have come down over there to Mount Hermon, Mount Bental, where you look across into Syria, you could see the outside suburbs of Damascus because it's so close. And there's also a pizzeria and a coffee shop there that I would like to duplicate over in Mizgavam. But anyway, if Israel wasn't behaving so strongly as the world was opposing them and standing against them, and very real European leaders, American leaders, all kinds of world people coming against Israel, but everything I know with confidence that the stage is being set prophetically for what's ahead. Understand that the Russian and Iranian invasion cannot happen unless there's a totally peaceful atmosphere all over northern Israel. How could that happen? You could speculate, but basically I think with the new administration that's coming into, that there's going to be this era of peace and prosperity, and that is the setting. So remember, Russia and Iran, they can't invade now. They're not going to do what, their unilateral invasion of the Golan Heights and the West Bank of Israel. They're not going to do all that now because it's still very chaotic. There's going to be a season of peace where people's minds are at ease. And so we have a year or 2 or 3, I don't know, to kind of go back and forth to Israel, to support Doug and Terry as they go to many countries and teach and preach the gospel, and all the things that we do here at Church on the Rock and sharing the gospel with people. We have, who knows how much time we have? We don't know. The rapture can still happen at any time. So it's not like, we've got 5 years before the rapture. We don't know that. Rapture could happen easily before this teaching is done. And the longer I teach, the odds go up. So, makes sense, right? So there's all these things that have just happened in northern Israel, and Israel is taking advantage of the situation and kind of seizing territory. And I say that's good. That's very good, because what they're doing it to create buffer zones for the protection of their own people. And